To the caster's desk with Freak and Jat there, joined by Crumbs to get a little bit of a breakdown on the last game.
Yes, indeed we are. Crumbs, welcome to the desk, man, and congrats, by the way, on a very good win right there.
Thanks. That was it looked like an easy win. Like, it really wasn't, because coming into this super week, those first 2 games, personally, I didn't think that was a really good showing of the team that we can be. And that last one really showed what we've been practicing, the team synergy that we want to have. And that's what we've been working on. And those first 2 games, some things happened in picks and bans in the actual beginning of the game that really threw us off. And we weren't on top of our game at all. So that's why they were so one-sided. And I think that this first game really allowed us to sink our stride into how we want to play the LCS. So it's really good feeling now to actually get back into it.
So let's start with this game right here that you guys just played. A lot of really interesting stuff coming through. Haven't seen Karthus a lot in the new season. Jungle Wukong, especially going Lizard Brutalizer, a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about this team comp.
All right. Well, the first thing is that this team comp is not something that we thought of ourselves. This is something that another team played it against us. And I'm not going to tell you what team it was because I want to keep their secrecy. But they played it against us, and we thought it was a great idea. So we copied it off them, and we tried it against us. And it worked great. With Jinx and Wukong, you push so much faster than the Elise. So you saw they had 4 people down at the bottom turret the first one. With 4 people, they took the turret slower than we had it with 3. And it's just really fast pushing. And then when you have Annie on your team comp, you have such a strong engage. And with Wukong as well, you can follow it up really easily and do very high damage, especially when you go a Spirit Lizard, just all damage out build. And regarding that build was copied from solo queue mains. Like, there's a lot of solo queue guys that play jungle Wukong, and then that seems to be their build. So I was like, you know what? These guys clearly know Wukong better than I do. Okay. It's something that I want to pick up. I'll try it out, and I liked it, so I played with it.
Nice.
Yeah, everyone likes to talk about the 50 to 60 armored MR you can get just from your passive and the masteries on Wukong.
Yeah.
But Kiwi Kid, to me, made a lot of roam plays in that game. Can you talk to me what the communication was like, since he was all over the map, not just babysitting Amacutie Pie?
Okay, so with Kiwi, he has the stun all the time, right? So he's able to defend dives and provide dives easier than anybody else. For me as Wukong, I only have CC when I have my ultimate, which is not nearly as often as an Annie. So we had him go in certain lanes, like say defend with Mundo just to prevent him getting dove. So he was there to prevent dives happening, and then once we got some turrets, we're able to establish a lot of war control in their jungle, and we basically just have the global pressure of Karthus, and with my all damage build and high burst Annie, we're able to just burst down whoever we want at pretty much any time. And that's what we saw when they came to our red side, to their red jungle. We caught their bottom lane, just used all our ultimates, and just blew them up right there.
And how do you think Kiwi Kid is actually progressing as a player? He had kind of a rough season in the last split as a top laner, coming in as a support. It's always weird seeing a converted role for a player. How do you think he's actually working with the team?
I think he's working well with the team, actually. And, the reason why people really like this bottom lane is because it has the Kiwi Pie synergy that everyone talks about. They're always streaming and just playing a lot of games together. And they seem to really know each other. And, sometimes they're struggling, but I think their struggle is just mostly regarding the fact that it's new. It's a new role. You can't just hop into it and say, I'm going to play this competitively. It takes time. So as the season progresses, as we practice more and more in a more strict regimen, I think we're going to be able to do a lot more work regarding bottom lane synergy and just all-around plays that you saw with the synergy between, I guess, support, mid lane, and jungle.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are definitely looking up a whole bunch, but maybe talk to me a little bit about how Scar is kind of working through his stuff, because he's went back to something like Karthus. No one had played Karthus mid lane in a very long time, but he's had a successful go at it because that's kind of his core champion. Could we expect more of that from Scar, or is he going a different direction?
Absolutely. I think we should expect it from practically us and every team here. As you saw, Curse, they pulled out a Kali mid, which is just a throwback to, 2 seasons ago, and then Karthus top lane. So this just shows that the current meta is not what it looks to be, which is just, say, Yasuo middle and then super tanks top, and then these other supports that just are so conventional. You saw over in Europe, people are playing support Kennen and things like that. It just shows that at the current state, the game is in a really good place for playing whatever you want. You just have to be good at it and know its strengths, and everything's playable, everything's viable, and I absolutely love that about this new patch. So I think it creates a development in how teams think that they have to worry more about what they want to play instead of thinking, oh, we need to counterpick. It's always, no, this is what we're going to play. They can play whatever they want to play, but this is what we think is good. And that just adds a new dimension to the game, which I absolutely love.
Well, it's good to hear. I like that you guys are trying out new stuff. I'm still a fan of the mid-Pantheon from the end of the summer split last time around.
Yeah, and almost all the teams that have tried new strategies this weekend have won with it. So it's good stuff.
Exactly. So we do actually have a replay of one of your guys' mid-game team fights around 22 minutes in, Crumbs. If you want to get us through that, we can get the replay up on your screen. So you guys are 8-1 in the game. Looks like you're siege in the mid lane. Walk us through what goes on here.
All right, so in this team fight, we have Annie with Flash and Wukong with Flash, our 2 engages. We're going to look for a wall just to get somebody. They get the Annie, Tibbers on 2 people. Then I go in as Wukong and then try to just get as many people with my ulti as possible. You notice I took tower aggro immediately. So I just knew I'm going to die right here. I already got all that I needed to do with my engage. And we just have the follow-up with the Karthus ulti. Before this, we're saying you don't need to overcommit for a dive. We have Karthus ulti to follow things up. We're struggling with tower pushes. All we need to do is get the tower, get them off, and just focus on the objectives. It's a game that we win by taking objectives, not with kills.
Yeah, and you guys got a 4-for-1 fight off it, even the same. So really awesome, both in the play calling and just sort of the understanding of, okay, here's how we're going to do it. Let's get the fight going on. I like the play calling there.
Thank you.
All right, so so tell me, like, you guys, you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, you guys had a really rough time in your first couple of games. What, like, went wrong there?
Well, you know, the first game we had against CLG, we were trying sort of a new dynamic as a team, right? We're putting myself as a main shot caller, which is basically everything I say goes, and you basically have to follow it up. So I'm being thrown into a relatively new position that I'm working on to just master.
Who had done the shot calling previously?
Previously, it was just everybody. Everybody had a say into what. So you're saying this, and then it used to just cause a lot of chaos, say in team fights or say a dragon, which happened many times at Baron. It'd be so many split calls. One says finish, one says go turn on them, and then it just. That's where the Dignitas throw on Baron happened, just because there was no decisiveness. Now that we have a decisiveness on it, we're able to actually prevent that from happening, and it goes a lot more smooth, I think. And just that first game, I felt like a little bit nervous, to be honest. Okay. I went 0-5, and that game, I watched the replay last night. I basically missed almost every cocoon. And I think that I have a tendency to just overcommit to making something happen. Instead of just letting the game flow as it should be, just take it slowly. And just that first game nerves just really got to me, and I just started going way too aggressive and not really thinking about the consequences of my actions. And I think that snowballed the game, because I don't blame it on my teammates at all for that game, because I felt like if I had played my regular game, they were all winning their lanes very well. And it was just my poor play that caused that defeat. And then the second game, well, flaws in our strategy and draft phase happen, and you know that's going to happen to you. Sure, that's something that we can just. That game was taken less harshly than the first one. Okay. And then the third one, we said, okay, look, this is what we had. We have to do this. This is what we practice. This is what we're going to do, and it worked beautifully. All right, well, Crumbs, thank you very much for your time, and of course, congratulations on your first win. Hopefully, the first of many this season. Now, guys, we've got more coming on though. We got 5 down, but let's see.